Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome to another QuickTank review. This time I'm playing something a little different, something quite underpowered. The VK4502P Alps A. Now, what do you need to know about this tank in a nutshell? It is a fairly well-armoured, all-round tank. However, its frontal armour is not incredible and its turret armour is not incredible. With a gun with medium penetration, but high DPM. This is a rather big tank that has quite a lot of speed for a heavy, especially a German heavy. It's a very interesting heavy tank that really should be played like a medium. So let's go into more detail and look at the stats. This tank has got a fairly standard 1,570 hit points, less than a KV4 but more than an IS-3. Its weight is 57 tons. And that means that you can do some successful ramming in this tank if all else fails, especially against medium tanks. It's got a fairly meaty engine of 840 brake horsepower, which gives this a really nice horsepower to ton ratio. The tank has got a rather good speed limit of 38 kilometers an hour, which makes it one of the fastest German heavy tanks. And its traverse speed is fairly good at 28 degrees a second, which gives this the mobility to traverse the battlefield. Now, its frontal armor has not got the best angle, but it's 120 millimeters. When we compare this to the Tiger II, for example, the Tiger II has 150 millimeters of armor at the front, and the angle is the same, if not better. I can't tell you for sure without looking into details. All I can tell you from my experience, that you can penetrate the front of a VK4502 with 200 millimeters of penetration. However, trying to get through the front of a Tiger II, if he's angled, is just not possible with 200 millimeters of penetration. In fact, even IS-3s struggle to get through the front of Tiger IIs sometimes if they angle well, especially if they're up close and aiming down on the Tiger II's lower plate. One thing about the armor though is it's 80 millimeters at side and 80 millimeters at the rear, and the turret armor is 80 on the side, 80 on the rear, and 185 on the front. The turret is pretty good. It's the same as the Tiger II, basically. If you're going against tier 10 tanks, they will be able to penetrate your turret as long as they don't hit your mantlet. And you do have a weak point on top of the tank in the form of the commander's cupola. So watch out if you're staying stationary for a long time, that tanks will snipe the top of your tank. Basically, considering the side armor is 80, you want to angle the tank roughly about like this. This will give you the best opportunity to bounce the shells, and you want to go forwards and backwards to try and stop the enemy from sniping some of your weak points. One thing that's very interesting about this tank is that it gets very interesting 105mm. Now, the accuracy on this gun isn't the best at 0.37. The aim time is really good for a heavy tank at 2.3. That's very refreshing after you've played Russian heavy tanks. The alpha damage is a healthy 320. It's not the best when you compare it to, for example, an IS-3 or even an IS, which is a lower tier than this, the Russian 122mm. But when you've got the aim time such as this, you can't really complain. Now, the penetration is one of the weaknesses of this gun. 200mm means that it's in the same league as the T-32 for lack of penetration at tier 8 heavies. When you consider that the Tiger II gets 225, the KV4 gets 225, the IS-3 gets 225, all of the other powerful heavy tanks will have more penetration than you. And that extra 25mm is very significant for trying to get through the front of many tier 8 heavy tanks. However, what this tank does have is a rate of fire of 5.94, and that is very healthy indeed. The KV4, as an example, only has 5.41 rate of fire, and its accuracy is worse, and its aim time is worse. It's just the extra punchy penetration, especially with the premium rounds that the KV4 gets as a benefit over the VK gun. Now, one thing that's very interesting about this is when you compare this gun, for example, against a tier 8 medium gun, it really does significantly outperform it on the DPM stakes. Looking here against the Type 59, the Type 59 may fire just under 7 rounds a minute, but the alpha damage is so much significantly less. If we look at the 90mm on the German Panzer as an example, the Panzer may fire 8 rounds a minute, but it's doing a half less damage than the 105mm. So for example, we're taking a step up from 240 alpha to 320 on the VK4502. So that means that if we were able to equate this, that this would actually have a rate of fire of 9. So we're looking like we're getting, just off the top of my head, about maybe 10-15% extra DPM than the Panzer, which has got really good DPM for a medium tank. So what else do you need to know about this tank? Well, its turret traverse is 25, which is not bad. but it's got a fantastic view range of 400 meters, which means that you can really use this as a scout. I would still recommend to use vertical stabilizers on this tank, but hell, you might actually want to drop that for binoculars and actually be a forward brawling scout that's able to really take out most of the enemy mediums if it engages them one-on-one. Up close and personal, the vert stabs really aren't your best bet. I'm just thinking about this now, but I might be very interested to remove those vert stabs and use binoculars on this tank, although that will affect your long-range engagements quite badly. So really, now that you know all you need to know about the stats of this tank, let's take a look at how it performs as in gameplay. So let's take a look at some gameplay in the VK4502A. I'm playing in a platoon with Ike and Z. Big shout out to you two bros. We're playing in a really nice matchup for this tank on El Haluf, where about half the enemy team are tier 7s and half the enemy team are tier 8s, with a few scouts. So I'm going to be playing the VK4502 as if it's a medium tank. I'm going to be using its speed. As we can see here, we're going at about 45 down this hill. 45 to 50 down this hill. And I know that if I get to the bottom and I meet the Inden Panzer, for example, or I meet any of the lower tier tanks, then I'm going to be able to punish them. So I fire my first shot on the move at the Inden Panzer, bounces shell, Tiger misses. I try and fire another clutch shot, it misses, and we've reached our location. Unscathed! It's a miracle! I was sure that the Love A or the T28 prototype were going to be able to take us there, but it didn't happen. So that's wonderful. I'm going to keep pushing. I can see Z is backing me up with some sniping shots from the IS-3. I'm sure that he has put some definite punishment on the enemy. And I'm being the medium tank. Yep. I'm doing my standard maneuvers on El Haluf, as I would do in a medium tank, because I want to put the punishment on the enemy and spot for my team. We put a great shot there into the Inden Panzer, tracking him. And there we can see the Tiger still sneaking behind us. I get shot in the side, but I'm not bothered about that right now. I thought I'd have a kill on the Tiger, but Z snaps up the kill. This IS is definitely not using the top gun. He gets murdered from the ridge line as well. I can see Matilda. What are you doing in this match? Okay, you signed up with your scout friend. Okay. Alright, Matilda 4. You have just been snacked up by the King of Norway, Ike. And I see this Inden Panzer, and I'm pretty sure this Inden Panzer didn't expect a heavy tank to be here by now. So I'm going to start to beast him. I bounce the shell, I go forwards, I realise my gun depression isn't very good, and I fire a terrible shot there. That's just a terrible shot. I fired onto his upper plate. Fortunately for me, he tries to do some crazy manoeuvre, and I decide that the duck will chase him. And he quickly finds out that it's very hard to run away from a VK4502. If I'd been in a Tiger 2, for example, it would have been a lot easier. Now we're just starting to punish him. Waiting for the kill shot. I fire it into the rock with another bad shot. My aim has definitely been off this game so far, guys. Not quite enough gun elevation there to get a good shot. But finally we get our man and take out the Inden Panzer. Okay, so Z has gone across the flank to help out Ike, who's trying to fight the north and protect the cap. And I'm going to start working. We can see a very fortunate snipe there. Flies very true to hit the T28 prototype. And I'm using the relatively good engine power and speed of the VK to navigate this slope. And okay, we've got a shot on the T29 to try and get the interrupt off. There's another very fortunate shot. Got to be in it to win it. We managed to penetrate the T29. You guys might be noticing that the aim time on the VK4502 is not too bad, and the rate of fire is pretty good. We got ammo racked there through the front, and that was a pretty unlucky shot. But both of the enemy tanks get snacked up by my platoon mates. What we can also notice is that the armor on the VK was really unable, even while angled, to get as many bounces off as we had perhaps wanted. And trying to penetrate the T-29 here is very tricky with the amount of tanks he's got in front of him. But we managed to loop one over the enemy, putting in another rather healthy amount of alpha damage into the opposition. Oh dear. It's the duck duel. It's VK versus VK. He has got quite a lot more health than me. I need to get out of here. We cannot be killed by another VK. So I try and angle my armor, hoping that he can't aim down on my lower plate, which he can't. I'm waiting for him. Waiting for a shot to happen. I realize I don't have a shot and he's just going to be able to aim down on me. Fortunately, he doesn't manage to hit us. And so we go for the tracking shot. He's more interested in dealing with the Jagdpanther. Oh no, don't aim at me! Oh, we get sniped just before the end of the game. So, rather hilarious. Let's take a look at some post-game stats. Sell it now. Sell this tank. Sell it now. We got our mastery badge. Okay, let's not play this tank anymore. No. But guys, that shows you how easy it is to get the mastery badge in the VK4502 Alps A. Because we got it with only a 2k double leading up to 4k. The reason why I was able to get it was because of the large amount of spotting damage that we did. We can see that we got elite experiences at a base level. We fired 20, we hit 15, and of those 15, 12 penetrated. When you take into account that we fired 2 very chancy shots at the beginning, but our accuracy wasn't bad. You could see that the tank can make a lot of shots happen that really you shouldn't think could go in with only 200mm of penetration. But equally, it can be quite frustrating, the accuracy at times, such as that perfectly aimed shot against the T-44 that didn't finish off the target. Now, we were able to do 3,500 damage due to the relatively high DPM of this tank. It's really able to get its shots off a lot quicker than, for example, the Tiger II, just with less accuracy and much less penetration. But, you know, DPM is a strength in its own, and we were able to do a rather fantastic 3,200 spotting damage because we used the speed of this tank to get into an aggressive location and to hound down our enemies. And in my opinion, that's my favourite way to play the VK4502A. There are 2 ways which I love to play this tank. One is playing it like an aggressive medium or a support medium, where you go to the front with the mediums and you try and brawl with them. And generally you'll find that the enemy would far rather shoot the medium tanks than they would the VK4502A. Even though its frontal armor is much worse than the Tiger II, because it's got 120mm at the front, 80 at the side and 80 at the rear. If you angle well, there are still chances that you can pull off miracle bounces. And my other favorite way to play this tank is, as you're about to see, with another VK4502. So if you've been watching my live stream, you may have heard that I like to call this the duck tank. That's because when you view it like this, it looks like it's got flippers at the back. I don't know what duck's feet are called. I should probably look it up on Wikipedia or something. I don't know, we're going to call them flippers from now on. Yes, this tank definitely has flippers. It just looks so stupid from behind because it doesn't have mud guards on the back or whatever. I don't know. It just looks ridiculous. But anyway, you guys are about to find my other favourite way to play the duck tank, and that is with another duck. So, because of the DPM of this tank and the speed, I really feel that it is a tank that can work very well in platoons. If you can flank the enemy and you can overwhelm them and negate their general penetration advantage against you, then you can take them out. So against a Lurbe here, his strength is high penetration and fairly good frontal armor. Well, not amazing frontal armor, but really good penetration. So we're going to negate that. Me and Ike are going to negate that. He has a very low rate of fire compared to us. We just massacred him. I know Ike will finish off the SU-100, so I tell him, "You've got this, bro. Let's continue our mission." We're playing Encounter on Himmelsdorf, and our plan is to flank around and catch the enemies from the behind. We can see that Ike wasn't able to get the catch on the SU-100, but he's definitely speeding up coming behind me. And you can see that the VK4502P Alps A is actually quite fast getting around. challenged by this slope. It's not the fastest thing uphill. Along the flat it's not too bad, it's quite fast for a heavy. And, oh my god, it's Christmas! Who are we going to shoot first? Okay, choose the tank that's got high enough penetration to give us grief, the Ferdinand. Ferdinand turns round. And unfortunately, this is where the penetration on this tank is just not good enough. So, you see me loading an APCR round here. I need to get through the front of that Ferdinand without taking any more hits. Ike goes round and makes the first shot. Then I go round and I make the second shot. And I start loading irregular rounds again. So really the penetration difference, as I highlighted in the review part of this, is 200mm to 244. So really with the APCR rounds you're able to casually engage Ferdinands rather than struggle to engage them. And there we can see the weak point on the AT-15 and the high DPM with the VK4502A combo to really put some punishment on the enemy tanks. And this really is the the ducks are having a duck shoot now. Like, oh my word. Me and Ike just murdered the enemy there. I unfortunately missed my shot badly. I load an APCR round because I want the top gun. I don't think I've ever had a top gun in the duck tank. And BAM! We take it. Oh my word. I do some kind of wiggle in celebration and ram into Ike. So that game was very short, but high intensity. We're able to pick up 3,300 for our double, and we made 51,000 credits. Playing with Ike as aggressively as we did, it looks like I was just getting lucky with the last shots. We hit 13 out of 12, only donking one shot against the T-29, and every shot that we fired penetrated the enemy. Ike was able to do more damage than me, but it was just very fortunate that I was able to pick up the 6 kills and take down the top gun. What really I wanted to showcase for you with this replay is that I feel that the VK4502A is a tank that definitely excels when in a platoon. I really don't think that this tank is a very good solo tank because its lack of heavy frontal armor and lack of penetration mean that really in a one-on-one situation, it's not brilliant. Where this tank excels is whereas it's able to outmaneuver its enemy and use its really good DPM to bring the pain. Just to say that compared to the Tiger II with the Top Gun, this tank has nearly 25% higher DPM. Compared to the Loewe, this tank has got 20% higher DPM. So in my opinion, to make this tank fun, get together with a bunch of tanks like mediums. I think this would work really well with tanks such as maybe Panther IIs, or Pershings, or even Centurions, anything which have got roughly about the same kind of speed as it, or even other VK4502As like you've seen me use with Ike, and really maximize your DPM, because realize that you're not going to be bouncing much in this tank against equally tiered opponents. You're also not going to be penetrating equally tiered opponents much frontally, but what you can do is get their flank, get their rear, and brutalize them faster then they can brutalize you. And the way to do this is to work with your team. And sometimes you can't rely on a random team, so get together with your platoon mates. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this review on a tank that has been voted on the European forums as the worst tier 8 tank in the game. I still don't like it, I still don't recommend it, I'd far rather be in something else, but I don't want to free experience my way through it. So I'm giving it my best shot. Maybe this review helps you who are stuck on the VK4502 and want to get on to the next tank in the series, which has got a hell of a lot more armor and quite a punchy gun. It gets basically the same gun as the E75. And then you can begin your quest to get into the tank with the highest health in the game, the bloomin' mouse, which a lot of people go, I want the mouse! Guys, I've got another fantastic gameplay in this tank which I'll be putting up soon, so keep your eyes out for that. Why don't you tell me below in the comments what you think about the VK4502 Alps A? Do you think it's as bad as people make it out? How would you play it? How can you make it work? Have you got any fantastic games that you've had in this tank? Have you found a way to make it excel in nearly every situation? Why not tell everyone? If you've appreciated this review or it's been helpful to you, consider rating it down below. I'd really appreciate it and it helps me out a lot. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out some of my other videos. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.